expert advice. Today we have brought you at the office of Milestone Capital Advisors. And here we shall be speaking with Mr. Navin Kumar, who is the Executive Director at Milestone. Let's welcome our very special guest. Hello and welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
So first of all, I would like to know what is the difference between investment in mutual funds and investment in private equity?
Well, as a concept, both of them work on the same fundamentals of collective investment vehicle. Largely, mutual fund caters to the requirement of lower end of retail household, whereas private equity is meant more for sophisticated investors who understand the concept and the risk associated with it. So largely, the people who invest in private equity as a concept are of certain profile, which could be typically high net worth individuals or institutions or cash-rich corporates. Whereas mutual fund caters more to the individual investors in principle.
Okay, so my next question would be, there are a lot of traditional investment ways that people have been following to invest in real estate. Now here my question is, private equity is something which provides them a different route completely. So could you elaborate on that?
Well, I think if I specifically cater to, or rather refer to real estate as a concept, I think in my individual capacity or as an investor, probably I'll be able to invest in a particular town, city, which is typically either where I reside or my parents reside or my family members reside. Whereas through a vehicle like this, it actually gives me an opportunity to broad base my investment, so I can actually reach out to different parts of the country. At the same time, I actually am depending on the skill set of few professionals who have been doing this form of investment. So therefore, I would like to ride on the strength and skill set and understanding of these people who help me understand the concept better, and then also in the bargain help me generate a return which could be better than my own investment.
Okay, so you spoke about high net worth individuals. So what, could you elaborate what kind of net worth these individuals need to have to invest in a private equity?
Well, I don't think net worth would be the right way of looking at it, but we are talking about people who have the investable surplus. Okay. An investable surplus is typically fine. You have taken care of all your liabilities or all your requirements, and still just you happen to have some money which can be then saved and invested. So typically we're talking about, given that now SEBI has redefined the norms for investment in private equity from 10 lakhs to a crore now. Obviously, by default, your universe is much more smaller, and therefore you're talking about people with investable surplus of upwards of 10 crores, so that this can be an allocation. One of the allocations which he does across different forms of asset classes, private equity becomes one of the asset classes where he invests.
Okay. As a primary investor looking to invest in residential properties in metro cities, so what should be the criterion to be able to participate in private equity?
More than actually looking at the criteria of investing in real estate, I think first and foremost, people need to understand that who are the people, which are the fund houses you're trying to invest with, and what are their credentials. And I think it's extremely important in today's scenario to understand what kind of cycles have they gone through. A lot of fund houses have been coming in the market and raising a lot of money. The ultimate test of completing their track record lies in the fact that you have raised money, sourced transaction, invested money, nurtured it, and divested and returned the capital back. So I think as an investor, before you choose any private equity fund, it is extremely important to understand what kind of track record the fund house has been able to build for itself, and over a period of what kind of time frame. So that's where investors' comfort should come in from.
Okay, so now I would like to know, what are the risks associated with private equity investment?
Well, see, these are closed-ended funds, and by definition, closed-ended fund means that on a daily basis you do not know what is the valuation of your investment, which is typically the way a retail investor would like to assess. For example, if he invests 10 lakh in a fixed deposit, he kind of knows that if at the end of 3 months he wants to withdraw the money, how much would he be getting?
Okay.
In case of private equity, it's not as transparent, and therefore there is a concept of closed-ended. So which means that money is taken over a period of time, deployed over a period of time, and what as an investor I get to hear is that what is the expected appreciation of my investment year on year, but the actual amount unfolds only when the divestment happens, which typically happens over a period of 4 or 5 years and above.
Okay, and so what kind of returns can an investor expect?
Well, this actually is a good question because it depends on what is the structure in which the fund is investing, what is the security the fund is investing in. For example, if it's an equity linked structure, which means that if the fund is investing in the equity of that particular vehicle, conventionally if the investors got into a fund which invests in the land and then it gets developed and then they construct and sell, then typically the gestation could be upwards of 6 to 7 years or maybe 8 years. There the investors should be expecting a return in the region of about 20 to 25%. Whereas shorter duration fund, which are where the underlying structure is more of debt, which means your tenor is predefined, so is the return. So in that case, the returns are much lower, more in the region of about 12 to 14%.
So now I would like to ask you, if an investor decides to, invest via a private equity manager, so what are the steps that he needs to take?
Well, actually it's almost like investing in mutual fund, right? As far as the process of investment is concerned. But I think before that, as an investor, I think it's extremely important that he also does his own
so now I would like to ask you, if an investor decides to, invest via a private equity manager, so what are the steps that he needs to take?
Well, actually it's almost like investing in mutual fund, right? As far as the process of investment is concerned. But I think before that, as an investor, I think it's extremely important that he also does his own analysis, which is what I was referring to some time back, that I think it's important for him to understand who are the people whom he is going to deal with, what are the credentials of those fund managers, the team, how have they performed as a team over a period of time, how has this person performed as a fund manager over a period of whatever life cycle he has worked in. So it's extremely important that you draw a comfort basis that. Simple as that. I mean, if I have to invest, I mean, in a retail household, if they have to make a choice of which bank to invest or open a fixed deposit account in, typically you'll find that this is a dinner table discussion, right? And the criteria used are more like, okay, why it has to be a particular bank vis-a-vis any other bank, right? So you define criteria, this is a large bank, it's a multinational bank, it has X number of branches, placed across the country. So these are the factors which give you comfort as a household, and then only you take a call, fine. At the end of the day, I have an element of safety here.
Correct.
Right. So although there is an element of market risk associated with these forms of private equity investment, I think it's important for investors to do their diligence, more to understand what is the kind of risk I'm taking.
Okay. Correct.
And that obviously has given a lot of comfort to the investors. And in fact, that is one of the reasons that today, despite the market conditions the way they are, in the last 16 odd months, we have been able to return more than 1,300 crores of money across almost 15 investments. And this has gone to 16,500 investors. Also important to highlight that almost 25% of our investors are exposed to minimum 2 funds of ours. So which means that it will be safe to say that almost every 45 days, our investor sees cash flow into his account.
Oh, that's really great. Really.
Yeah, so I think that actually is more sticking to our which is what actually has helped us achieve this.
That's really great. Congratulations to you again, sir. Now, sir, talking about market conditions, the market remains sluggish for most times of the year, and we have witnessed a lot of ups and downs. So how does this affect private equity investment?
Well, private equity as a concept is affected by the market conditions. So which is where the fund manager's capability or ability to understand right, the current trends, the expected future trend, and then you decide your strategy comes into picture. Like in my own capacity, probably I would not be able to understand or analyze the market as much as probably a group of people of private equity fund house, which is largely driven by research and analysis, will be able to do. So to answer a question straight, it has element of impact. If one can preempt that, one can prepare oneself better. Like if I can just give an example of what happened in 2009-10, that was something which none of the fund houses across the globe would have ever anticipated. So those kind of scenarios don't happen very often. Those are once in a while kind of situation. Now those things are beyond you. But otherwise, typically factors which are linked to your interest rate, government policies, or more of business compulsion is something which one can anticipate.
Correct.
And then you can preempt and take calls accordingly.
So now talking about the investors of Milestone, so what are the kind of returns, any memorable incident from your investor, that they have grown so much, the kind of returns they have got over the life of the fund?
Memorable incidents is a very, very subjective question, because as an investor, I always want more return. If you give me 10, I would prefer 12. If you give me 12, I would prefer 14. If you give me 14, I would prefer 16. So I do not know whether I could actually close there. But I would say that given that we had a lot of new initiative where people kept on receiving money every quarter. Like we were the first one to have launched a private REIT way back in 2007. So investors kept on receiving quarterly return in the form of rental income. Now that has gone down very well with investors. So I remember people calling up and saying this was actually great help, because during those days REIT as a concept did not exist.
Correct.
So people investing in commercial property and then also seeing return coming their way every 3 months was something which was unheard of. Very good experience of people actually coming and appreciating that.
So you mentioned about private REIT. Now, since you are a private equity and the government has decided to bring in REITs,
yes.
So do you think it's a competition for you?
No, actually REIT is something which is, we would actually love to REIT a lot of our commercial properties, because as a concept REIT is very helpful for commercial property as a segment. But I think we still have some time to go before we have complete clarity and get the ball rolling. But from our perspective, we would rather focus on the life cycle of the fund than wait for the REIT to happen, because our objective is to generate returns, return the money back to the investors. If in the interim REIT happens, we will be very happy. To answer the question, no, the REIT is another vehicle for us to be able to take the business to the next level. I don't think it's competition at all.
So could you tell us how it would be a vehicle for your business?
Well, say REIT as a concept means the fund house collects money from the investors.
Correct.
And it buys properties, commercial properties which are pre-leased, which means which already is tenanted. So the rentals, by virtue of becoming the owner of the property, the rental which accrues to the fund house gets returned back to the investors.
Correct.
So globally, almost up to 90% of the rentals are returned back to the investors at a typically quarterly, monthly frequency.
Okay.
So from an investor's perspective, here is a vehicle through which I am actually owning commercial properties where the rentals are coming to me. So it's almost as good as a debt instrument where there is a fixed return coming to me. And as and when the divestment happens, whatever the capital appreciation, that also comes to me.
So we spoke about REIT. Now you have other private equities in the market. So do you think they are your competition?
See, actually as a fund house, I think there are a couple of things which very clearly distinguishes us. One is that we are like I said, we are the only fund house which
we spoke about REIT. Now you have other private equities in the market. So do you think they are your competition?
See, actually as a fund house, I think there are a couple of things which very clearly distinguishes us. One is that we are like I said, we are the only fund house which has got no parentage of any large institution. So we don't have any big brand name associated with us. Couple of us professionals getting together, creating a fund house, raising money and doing justice to it. So from that perspective, I think we have created our own niche. As far as the products which we have created and the fund which we have created, well, I think to that extent, I would say that while we were pioneer in doing a lot of new things, over a period of time, there has been a lot of other institutions also which have done that. Yes, so today we can say that our reference set comprises of about 7-8 private equity fund houses which are part of the same fraternity, and to that extent, this is competition which is very healthy.
Okay.
Because I think in any business there need to be at least about 5 to 6 players for the investors to be able to benefit from the same.
So talking about the success story of Milestone Capital Advisors, whom do you attribute your success to? That I would like to know.
Well, I think it's certainly been a team effort. I must make a mention of Prakash Arya, who was the promoter of his fund house. I think it was his DNA of trying to create entrepreneurs is what gave everybody enough freedom to go out and do things which they wanted to. And I think everybody has played their role in creating this organization. I think most importantly, I would like to attribute this success to our business associates, all the possible banks, financial institutions, broking houses, and largely the largest piece obviously is the investors, because without them I don't think we would be here. So they have believed in us, and that's how they have invested with us again and again. The banks and financial institutions, because they have believed in us, in our capability, and that's how they have decided to take this product and take back again to the investors. So I think overall it has been a success story which was crafted by everybody put together instead of individual or groups of individuals.
Okay, sir. Now, last but not least, I would like to know, is Milestone currently raising any fund?
Yes, we are. In fact, we are back in the market again doing what we are good at. So we are raising a fund right now, and I think I'll take the liberty of talking about what is this new fund. We call it Milestone Opportunities Fund 10 because this is our 10th fund. Having done 9 funds, this is our 10th fund. So we take pride in saying that we are the only private equity fund house in this country who have done 9 funds and are currently raising 10 funds. So this fund basically is an outcome of our full cycle capability track record of having raised money, invested, divested and returned money. And this fund is basically focusing on the mid-size residential apartments of the micro markets of 5 locations like Bangalore, Bombay, Gurgaon, Pune and Chennai. Given that it's under AI category, obviously the minimum investable amount here is 1 crore, but the distinguishing factors of this fund are that this is the shortest duration fund. The life of the fund is 3.5 years with just one potential extension of 1 year. Entire expense structure has been very, very aggressively done. Given that the entire money is drawn down in a year's time, it will be safe for the investors to assume that come year 3 and they can actually see substantial amount of money coming back. So it's a debt fund, so therefore there is an element of quarterly payout of interest which will happen to them. At the same time, when the divestments happen, they also receive substantial amount of money back. So we are talking about generating a net return, net of expenses, profit share, taxes, etc., everything of about 13 to 40% to the investors, which will be year on year. So I think it's a very good way of allocating investment to real estate and diversifying portfolio at the same time.
So as an investor, how can I be a part of it?
Well, I think we'll be more than happy for you to invest in this fund of ours, and you can reach out to us directly, or we have a lot of financial institutions who help us reach out to the investor base, so we can do both. The basic objective is to tie up, or rather have those kind of financial institutions who have helped us in the past. So if you already have a bank where you have a wealth manager who takes care of your investments, we are very happy to connect with them and take it up. I would like to talk about the journey of Milestone so far, because 7 years have been extremely fruitful years in this industry, and what differentiates us very clearly, like I said earlier, is the fact that here is a fund house where a bunch of professionals get together, create a concept, take it to the retail investors and keep going again and again. So I think the last 7 years we have been able to reach out to a large part of investor community, and I think they have probably given us a source of confidence and comfort that yes, probably we have done things right, and therefore they have accepted our funds over and over again. Since it's a company which was started without any institutional background or support, the element of professionalism is always exhibited by us, and you always find people in Milestone always trying to achieve what we set out to be, because at the end of the day you realize that the only way you can be in this business is by going back to the investors.
Correct.
So everything we do obviously has the investors interest paramount all the time. And it's not only the fund. It's the fund, the processes, the investor relations. In fact, happy to say that we are the only ISO certified, private equity fund house in the country. And why it was important for us was because we, like I said, we attach a lot of importance to, the communication mechanism, the engagement with investors, and therefore all these factors are very, very important, which is as a part of the journey of Milestone.
That's really great, sir. Sir, now I would like to know if Milestone is planning to go international.
Well, actually, we already have two funds which are offshore fund where typically the money was raised from offshore market. So typically it was the Middle East, the Southeast Asia, some parts of Europe, and the investments have happened in India. So at this moment, we are very keen to do this fund as a onshore domestic fund, but I am sure that next 6 to 7 months we would be doing something which will take us to offshore again, because obviously the sentiments have changed quite a bit in India, and India is back on everybody's radar again from an investment perspective.
Correct.
So I think timing wise, next 6 to 11 months would be the right time to reach out to offshore market again, and we certainly will be there.
And so how as an investor I can be a part of it?
Well, I think the ideal way of associating this, with this would be to align with one of your fund manager, one of your wealth managers. So typically the person who advises you on different forms of investment, because then what happens, there is a rationale for investing, right? So it's important that you also understand that if you're getting into private equity, you understand all the risk factors and everything else associated with it. Alternatively, we are very happy to meet you directly also and help you invest in this fund and understand the concept. So we can do both. We're happy to do that.
And even I'll be happy to be a part of Milestone.
So will we. We are very happy to receive investors like you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your fruitful information, and thank you so much for calling us here and sharing your views and sharing your journey of Milestone with us. We wish you very best for the years to come.
Thank you so much.
So this was Mr. Navin Kumar of Milestone Capital Advisors, who spoke with us regarding private equity investment. So if you're thinking to invest in private equity, Milestone Capital Advisors is the right place for you. For more such information on investment and real estate as a whole, you keep watching Spin TV. Goodbye, take care.